You know how sensitive little children are when you say, you naughty little snot nose, you're never going to be anything, right? You see how that sticks forever. And it comes with an energy field. A person doesn't say, you dirty little swine, you'll never make anything in a nice way. That wouldn't do anything. It's the energy that does that and puts it into you indelibly. It cannot be removed. Because once you start, as a little child, when you get that energy coming from your father or mother, it becomes a trauma. Because children are innocent. They're not. They don't come into. They don't know they're coming into a world that is going to get into them. And what do you think the world is? It's the parents. Parents are no damn good. You can't be good. You want to be gooder. And the gooder you get, the worse everything becomes. This is how it should sound. Now, I'm going to try to say it. I'm not sure I can say it right, because I don't feel anything. So how can you describe not feeling anything and yet being able to do everything effortlessly and not knowing that you're doing it? People would say to me, how do you do this? If I have a fight with somebody, let's go back years and years ago when I was strong. I got a good right hand whacker if I want to, even now. But even when I was a young man in military and places where Jews are not wanted, you can see how many spats I have. I never lost anything. I didn't know what I didn't even notice it. But all of a sudden he's on the floor. Oops, I take him for a cup of coffee. Sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. Oop, I take a lady across the street. I don't notice it. In other words, I don't know what I'm doing. But you don't know what you're doing, so it's all wrong. It's all about you. It's all about feelings. It's all about loving somebody to be loved back. Because you're missing something. So what you do in your primordial or your mortal self, you fill the emptiness of what you lost. You got the emptiness because of your parents. Your parents do not know what they're doing. They come into the world, and I keep saying over and over, but the world comes into them. That's culture. So now you're cultured. If you're born in Borneo, you'll be a cannibal. There's no way out of that. If you're born in ISIS, you can't stand up. There is no freedom to stand up like we have freedom here. And then when we stand up with freedom here, we're going to get hit by people who have lost their freedom because of feeling. And they don't like to see a person who has no feeling, because that is no feelings, no anger, no whoopee, no excitement. You can praise him, and he says, thank you, but he's not, no, thank you, that's kind, but he doesn't have a feeling. It's just the thought, that's a nice thing. It is a nice thing. And you can accept as a nice thing. But don't have a feeling of worth. Don't let it go to your head. Don't tell anybody how wonderful you are. Don't tell anybody, you know what, you saved my life. I didn't. I know I haven't done anything. Everything has been done through me. Everything is done through me. Everything. If I get sick, I'm an ordinary person, and I come into the world not being informed. The word is informed. I like the word informed because we're formed from within. But we come into the world and we start to learn everything. we learn to be like our mother, we learn to be like our father, and we learn to hate our mother while we love our father, and we learn to hate our father, and did I say mother? Did I say father? Same thing. You have a love-hate with everything. If you love one, you hate the other. And if you have one who you love, is a love-hate relationship because you're a slave. I'm putting everything into a small small package. Because if you understood any of that, you can go home, and if you understood it, but the watchword, the key word is understanding. And understanding isn't a learned thing. So when you say I understand something, you don't.
Okay.
That's my wife. I take liberties here. And she fights back.
Oh, yeah.
But see, the thing is, if she didn't fight back, I'm telling her right now, she unconsciously tries to intimidate me in 1,000 different ways for 64 years. She hasn't succeeded yet. And she got weaker and weaker and weaker. And I got stronger. But I don't notice the strength. I don't notice the power. I know it's there because I've lived with marriage 64 years. I've held my marriage vows. Whether she's a good person or a bad person, I'm with her. And my purpose is to help her see what I see she doesn't see. But then you get a person who doesn't want, is offended by. She tends to be jealous. I have a brother that's jealous, and he finds anything to try to. He would talk to her, and say bad things about me to her, but then she turns around as time goes by, and so if she doesn't like what I'm saying, truth, and I don't deal with any other thing but being honest. But that's offensive to what's wrong with you. That's offensive. But it's offensive in a contained way, because there's so many people who really hate you. But I don't get bothered by them. I don't even notice them. I do not notice them, but they call me a dirty Jew, whatever, scumbag. I look by my note. I don't notice it. All I can see is the talking furniture. I always use that word, talking furniture, because it's it's amusing. It doesn't bother me. So in a sense, it is kind of curious. It is like, wow, what does he do that for? Why is he behaving that way? But I don't think that it's that way. It's how else would you be? There's no feeling you can't rouse a feeling in me to extend what you feel, what somebody else made you feel and projected onto me to vent. Because all feelings are venting. Venting what other people did to you. And it's a whole line. It's a whole history that you go back into history as far as you go to your grandmother, your great-grandmother, your great-grandmother, all the way through. It's always women. I'm saying things that women don't like to hear. Women are Eves. All of them. There's no such thing as a woman who isn't an Eve that wants to overcome the Adam. But then you also have man born of woman. And man is the extension of Eve. If you understand, through one man's sin and death through sin spread through the human race. But how did it spread? Is the woman has the poison. She has that part of her that overcame Adam. And when she brings something into the world, Whether it's a woman, it's an extension of her. When it's a man, he's subject to her. Not because she's pretty and she's attractive and natural instincts aroused in an unnatural way. You understand that a man born of woman only has a reproductive motivation. He doesn't have love for the woman. He doesn't know what love for a woman is. Or he feels is attraction to her. But in that attraction lies a trap. So unless a man is noble, whatever noble is, like me, in a sense, I'm not calling myself noble. I'm just saying it, when you have no feeling, when the woman goes and wiggles her torso while she's washing the dishes, it doesn't arouse anything in me. But it arouses the man. And any kind of movement, any kind of way she dresses, and the way she dresses is to attract. And she doesn't understand what attraction is, because within that attraction is temptation. So she says, come on. And if you give in to that, you're a dead man. Once you get into her, brand new, you're a brand new kid, and you have the first sex, and you can't resist it, and you get into her. Eve, with the Spirit, gets into him, and he is dying. And so once you get the sense of worth, which is worthless. Now let me stop. What you need is worth. But a man-child is born with great intuition. A woman comes into the world, she does not have it. She has the ability to recognize a noble man. She has the ability to recognize an ignoble man. But she can't help but be attracted because she's been hurt as a child. She's got all the conflicts of her mother. She's got all the identity of the mother, including the spirit of paradise lost, that dark side of the force that says, I didn't die. See? And Adam looks at it and he sees that she didn't die. He says, well, maybe God is trying to test you to see if you're man enough to stand up to your dad. I just made that up. But it's something like that. And that quality. So when the man had, when he gave up, when he did not do, for example, if your dad said, please, I got a nickel on that table, I need it badly, please don't take it. And you took it. And he blamed it on Johnny. Well, Johnny made me do it. Or if he never said a word and you got a nickel on the table or 25 cents on his night table. And the impulse in the person, in the young man, knowing that he shouldn't take that money belongs to his dad, there's an impulse there that pulls him towards that. And nearly all the children cannot help but take it and make an excuse, which is exactly what's happening to everybody. The excuse means that you've been manipulated. But where's the manipulator? It's born into them. Because the child that I'm speaking about, never mind this, it'll be fine. I'm okay with it. Leave me alone with it. Okay, thank you. Because there's plenty of noise here, going in here. See, no. Huh? Yeah, I know, but I only moved it a quarter of an inch. You're not listening. You're not listening. You can tell by listening.
I am listening.
You are. Oh, go to hell then. That's just no joking. This is not important to me right now. I'm just trying to make a point. And so the evidence that you have been influenced is the excuse. How many people make an excuse? Everybody. No, you don't have to put your hands up. It's everybody. And that excuse is hell. And once you start to make an excuse, once you make the excuse and say, Johnny made me do it, or whatever, the minute that happens, you fall from grace exactly the same way. And if the father comes in and says, did you do this? As if he didn't know. He gives the child the chance to say, yes, Dad, I'm sorry. I had an impulse. Some children are like that. They win. But most children are not. Why? Because mother is closer to him than dad. The reason why mother is closer to him and takes on the identity of the child, whether it's a male or a female, and with the male is more conflict. With a male is more conflict. What the female wants is more. She wants more, even if it's wrong. It's the wrong kind of sex or the wrong kind of love. She still wants more because he's failed. And when he fails, he emboldens what's in the woman. Emboldens her. And so therefore, she wants to try again. Please love me. Please save me from my dark side. But she doesn't understand that. It's all mingled up. So what does a woman want? That's what not an attorney, but...
Freud. Sigmund Freud said that.
Even Freud said it, yes.
Yeah.
What does he want? He didn't know. He didn't know. Okay. See what I'm saying? Do you see the complex of the original sin? You see, when I speak to you this way, it is a expansion, a revisit, so that you understand origin of this, the human race you belong to, and not the monkeys outside on the bottom of the hill, which are also humans in some form of way, but we are a special kind. You are mingled with the dark side of the force that was on the side outside. Remember how Adam and Eve, they lived almost 1,000 years, and they produced lots of kids and a whole system of things, just like you have two pigs. Let's use the pigs is about right. And they multiply. You have big pigs and small pigs and black pigs and white pigs and speckled pigs. Pretty soon you're the farmer that owns them all. And that is through one man's sin, and death through sin spread through the human race. It is a virus, like a virus, but it's not a virus. It's an identity crisis. You're dealing with evil inside you that you didn't put there. Because the only time that you ever did wrong is you were born into culture. You were born into a culture, so in America you got a better chance of being corrupted. Families corrupt children. Families do not know they are corrupted children. They don't. Because they're American. And so you're born into America and you're an American. But you screwed up American. You're a nice American, but you're too nice. Mother has a baby. And she, oh, look at my wonderful baby. And she loves it instead of enjoying it. See, here comes the feeling. Instead of just say, isn't she cute? And enjoying being with the baby and watch the baby unfold and see how the little baby becomes mature and he wants to be independent. He wants to buy something so he can play with it. And so whatever it is, if you just watch over them and enjoy watching over them. But what the women do is they hold the children close to them. They don't let them go. The cow will push the calf away from suckling because he wouldn't stop. The calf would not stop suckling if the cow didn't have the common sense, which you don't have, to push the calf away so he eats grass. He becomes dependent. The cow knows it. Every animal knows it. And there's variations of that. And so what I'm trying to say is that women are pockmarked with what is happened when paradise was lost. But it wasn't her fault to begin with. He should have said, never mind, God hath said, don't eat the fruit. You can have everything in the garden, including the tree of everlasting life. But the woman defiled that. But she did not, imagine this. What comes out of her mouth sometimes, she doesn't know what comes out of her mouth. She doesn't see what she's saying, and nor do you. You have no wisdom, no wisdoms. You might be good in making money, etc. So you have all the skills, but not the virtue. What's wrong with the average person? And all of us, including me to some degree, because I found this very early. Very early. I was born this way. Otherwise, I couldn't be this way. Moses was born that way. He didn't have a chance to be messed up. He got a nice princess. Well, a princess that loved him, apparently, as much as mother. Because the mother probably didn't know how to... Mothers are typical mothers. But this is a strange child found in a reed boat. And therefore, it's a bit more of a toy, but not a smother mother, as mothers are smothers. Or they reject their own kids, reject their own boys because they hate their father. So therefore, the woman tends to be too loving, and therefore creating a codependence. Immediately, oh, isn't he wonderful? I'm saying that's sucking my milk. Okay, that's not a very good imitation. But Indians, do you know how Indians make a real warrior? They suckle the baby, but then make sure it makes it go hungry for milk and that it cries. And when it cries, they let it cry. And they let it cry. And when they get really angry, they feed it. Then you have a dangerous, brave programming. There's so much you can program ISIS. So a baby ISIS comes into the world. And do you think that baby ISIS has anything to do with it, who it's going to be when it becomes a man? They take these babies and children and put them into those schools. I forget the names of the schools. And they program them and with what's the Bible?
The Quran.
Huh?
The Quran.
Yes, Quran. And so over and over, years and years and years and years, until they have no common sense. And not having common sense is, if you were that way, Mao Zedong did it in China with his little red book, over and over and over again, programming and brought them up that way. And so, if you haven't, but that's not being yourself. You have terrible conflict when you're deprived of yourself and when you're tutored with cruel, wicked people who want to use you. But to that degree, you're lost. And you get so angry and so frustrated. And so many times you're told the enemy that good people are bad people and bad people are good people. And so many times, and you're so completely. You see people commit suicide just because of little things that happen to them in life, because the school kids, torment them, and then have a beating up in school, and instead of try to stand up for yourself, and the bully is the one that becomes the innocent, and you become guilty for standing up for yourself because the system will do that to you. So that you see there's so many ways of programming you and trying to teach you everything. Now, I say to you, and this is well known, in the Greeks and those intellectuals of those days, they weren't stupid. Education is degradation. And you can be taught, but you need to teach your children at home. You need not to send your kids to school. There comes a point where he wants to, then it's his choice. See? But if you're a good mother and you're a good father, mother will take care of you in this way. She will not hold you up as a prize. Look at my children. Oh, isn't he a darling? All those things. This is an ego trip. This isn't love. But if you were corrected, if you were a good Eve, but then you need a real man. And even then, a real man doesn't guarantee that Eve will respect the good man, but give him a hard time like you do.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, you need to know. These people need to know. My life is just as much open as theirs. So if you're going to come in, you're going to have to take a little bit of. Oh, yes, you do. We're waiting to get home. We can fight later. Fight later. Okay. What are you laughing at?
They're all the same.
It's all the same. What's it like to be married to Roy Masters? This is all the same.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
So on this note, I know that you wanted to speak with me about my husband, Stuart, and I wanted to talk with you more about my marriage. I haven't been frank about some things.
I know that.
I haven't told you.
You've been
stuff-
here
Yeah, I know.
years and years and years, and she's a nice girl. She's a nice girl. She's a nice girl. She's a nice girl. Always obliging.
I hold it in. I hold it in.
Yeah,
and
you
I hold it in.
and you put on a front.
Okay, but
And I have to believe that front.
I got to
And
talk.
you saw that you're actually tempting me. When you put it on a front, you're deceiving me.
Okay,
But I'm
but
not.
I'm here to be completely
Oh,
open about
go
what
ahead.
I am.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's do it because I'm not going to hold anything in.
Her husband recently died, and I said she killed him.
Right, and I understand what you look. And it's been a rough week. I know you've had some harsh words for me, okay?
Yes, and you need them.
Okay, and
You need your butt kicked.
and that's fine. You do whatever you have to do,
I did it.
and you did. Consider my butt kicked.
Well,
All right. I haven't talked about some things in our marriage that I've been very ashamed of, okay?
good.
Before Stuart came here, when Stuart came here back in 2011, he became a transformed man. You would not know the person I had to live with prior to that to the person he started to become.
Yes, it's beautiful.
He was a beautiful soul. I loved him. Okay, Roy, I loved the guy. I loved the brightness in him. But I hated his faults. My problem, for the first 17 years that we were married, Stuart gambled every single day at the horse races.
I see.
And it destroyed our marriage.
Oh, I see.
Okay?
That's interesting. Go ahead.
Every single day. Okay, he was heavy into horse racing. He did it in New York. He did it over. He came into the marriage with it. I went into the marriage with my eyes wide open to that.
So you knew he
I
was a
knew,
naughty boy. You
but
knew it.
I knew, but he was naughtier than that. There's more to it than that. And there's some things I can't discuss over
Okay,
here.
fair enough.
I will tell you privately.
No, it's all right.
But it destroyed our marriage. I had to pay for everything. I had to work my ass off. He pissed our money away. I paid for all of his cars. I paid his credit card bills off. I did everything. And I was very insecure. I wanted to have children. I spent my 30s, the whole of my 30s, crying my eyes out because he kept stringing me along about children. And he wouldn't tell me yes or no. And I just spent the whole time, keeping my fingers crossed that things would work out for us. I held it against him. He knew. I told him years later, why wouldn't you just tell me flat out no, that we were not going to have kids?
Yeah.
Instead of stringing me along and letting me,
Well, you can rent some.
what?
You can rent some.
I
kids.
could, well, there's something about having your own kids, though,
Yeah,
but
they're just joking.
But no, seriously. But the thing with the gambling is I'd come home from work, he'd have his head in a horse racing form, so we weren't communicating. And then he'd say to me, I'm going to go down now. And that meant down to the place where he'd go gamble. So he did it every single day. And
But let me stop
basically-
you. Let me stop you. You supported that?
I was livid.
You supported it.
I did. Let me
If he
tell you
didn't
what
make
I
a
did.
living, he didn't make the living, you did.
I did. Let me know what.
And then you gave it to him.
I'll tell you what I did.
What?
I turned it around in my head. I was so tired of feeling angry about what he was doing. I turned it around in my head. I made it right. I made his gambling right in my head in order to cope.
There is very well said. You see,
Because I
she
couldn't
became
stand
a
it.
slave because she wants to be loyal. She has a side of her that wants to be loyal.
I
But-
was so ashamed of it. I couldn't even
You
tell
got
you about it.
you got the words guilt.
It was terrible.
It was guilt. So in order to avoid the guilt, you gave him the money. And
That's
when you
right.
gave him the money, you emboldened him. And then
I
you
was-
made him worse.
I did.
And that makes you more righteous. So you had a whole righteous streak.
I had a huge righteous streak.
Very
I was justified.
well.
I was so angry.
But it turns you into the love of the beast.
I was a bitch. During that whole period, I was a bitch.
Yeah. But you didn't think of yourself as a bitch because you thought it was right.
That's right.
Every bitch thinks she's
And
right.
every time he'd say to me, in the evening, he'd say to me, I'm going to go down now. Every time he used the word go down, my heart would go down.
No. That is very well said. That is honesty. But had you said that to me 4 years ago,
Right.
this wouldn't have happened.
I understand.
Meanwhile, he turned around the other way,
He turned
became a
completely around.
noble person,
Yes.
and you still walked away and did your other stuff.
Well, what happened is that if I may honestly tell you honestly, our marriage, from the day he came here, okay, he said to me, I cannot gamble and see Roy at the same time. And he gave it up. Cold turkey, and all of his friends mocked him for it at the horse races. They all made fun of him.
That's all right.
Okay, and during that whole year, he suffered very strange symptoms. They almost looked like Parkinson's. It was very strange symptoms as he withdrew from gambling.
I understand.
And we went through it together. We talked about it. And our marriage from that point started to transform. I started to soften towards him. I stopped being so difficult. I stopped being so bitchy. My heart opened up to him. There's still residue. He totally changed completely, and he started to pull me towards the light, towards him.
Yes.
But I still had some residual anger. I loved his light. I hated his faults. I still felt
But the faults were in the past.
they were in the
The
past.
faults were in the past. Why don't you look at the present?
Right.
You mustn't look through yesterday's eyes. Here is the word. Remember it. Do not look through yesterday's eyes.
But I did. It was healing. Our marriage was healing. It had taken a good turn, and then this. And honestly, Roy, honest to God, the problem that
I'll tell you what the hateful size was. You heard me talk about my problem of almost having heart attacks.
right.
And it went over many, many, many years. And it got worse. And nobody knew what to do about it.
Okay.
Actually, it was quite simple. All I needed was Tums.
Okay.
You see, because I started out life with bad doctors who decide, what's wrong with you and try to diagnose you, and they make mistakes. You can't trust your doctors.
But
You need three. But once that started, I began to get ill from
exactly.
the solutions to what got started, and they did it all wrong, and so I took lots of medicines which messed up my gut. When it messes up your gut, all you have is gas, but you don't know it's there. See, and so what your husband had. This is the important point. So long as you held the anger towards him, you could not see enough to do the right thing.
Well,
The anger keeps you. Yes, you like it. He's changed. You appreciate it, but you still held resentment towards him. Had you not been resentful towards you, you would have said to him, Roy talks about his life, and he says, the life was miserable and suffering, and one operation after another, one put under the anesthetics in another, and almost dying many times. And the bottom line was, all you need is a Tum. But even when they gave me an anti-acid, so I didn't know it was there. You can actually have acid in your stomach and you do not know it's there, and it's creating gas and is pushing against your heart. See, and you can die from that. See, thinking it's a heart attack, and it is. It is pressing against the heart. It is blowing the heart up.
he had it. Look, and I've got to discuss this with you because he only had that condition the one time. Okay, prior to that, before we were married, he always had a bloating condition. Okay, it was mild. It had been stable for 22 years.
Mine was too, also
okay.
for about 20 years,
For 20
until it got to a point where it blew up.
And that's
Almost blew up. But the thing is, I don't want to make you guilty. I want you to see that you could not see it. And I just want you to realize what part you played.
I will.
And the part you played was he got better, but you still held hostility.
I did.
Okay.
Yes.
Holding hostility means you're looking for them yesterday's eyes. And therefore, if something goes wrong with my wife, see, she had this thing, and I hate her, I resent her, I would not say anything. Like serves you right inside your head, even though she's better. But something's going wrong, because when you get better, there are certain things that still go wrong physically. And so if you think through yesterday's eyes, you could not bring forth the sweetness of see.
And you are right about this. And what I sensed about myself is
But you know what I mean by sweetness.
Yes.
You heard me say, 50% men die from heart attack, where there's no heart attack at all. And they have not,
yes.
for many years, they didn't know what it was. What it was, it had to do with digestion that had no way out. So you have a splenic flexure. It comes out of the stomach, and it makes a curve right near the heart. and then it curves again. But when it stops there, it pushes against the heart and stops it.
That's
And you
right.
feel terrible pain.
That's
Now,
right.
I have spoken about that because statistics say that when they do post-mortem to a man or woman for that matter, they do a post-mortem and they open the heart to see what was wrong.
That's right.
There's nothing wrong with the heart. So how can that be? The only other reason would be is what I just said.
Mm-hmm.
And you had those symptoms,
He
and
had the
I've
bloating.
talked about that. And had you had a good nature towards him, you would have said to it, you know what Roy said? You came to learn it. And I made a special discussion about it. And you missed it because you didn't have, at that moment, you still had the irritation towards him
Well,
that didn't allow you to say, to be brave enough. Because you see, as long as you're guilty, you keep it to yourself. You've kept it to yourself from me. You've kept your guilt from me. You kept it from me for 4 or 5 years. And you come in, do all the nice things, and I like you for that. But what's going on inside?
well, listen, I'm fiercely open. You will need to kick my butt. You go right ahead.
No, I've done it already.
You've done it already.
No, it's-
But no, seriously, he never shared with me that he had any other problem other than the bloating.
but the only way I found out is when you told me.
Because of
I
the
said, why
autopsy.
didn't you tell me ahead of time?
But only because of the autopsy. I didn't know. He was under the impression he had food poisoning. He recovered from that. We had no idea that his heart, after he recovered, we had no idea that his heart was bulging after that point. So we didn't know. He had never had any stomach distress prior to that other
It
than,
isn't a stomach distress.
well,
It doesn't show itself as a stomach distress. It shows itself as a heart attack.
with that, okay, I understand.
And so when he has that, the chances are that he will die from it. And I want the men to understand that not all the heart attacks have to do with heart attacks. It has to your normal way, emotions and plaque in the blood, and that's all caused by emotions. Because when you get upset, the plaque increases. Because the plaque basically is what you hear when you cut yourself. The plaque appears and seals it up. See, that's basically what it does. It's magical. However, it's important. And it's important for my wife. I've been 64 years. I've tolerated everything, but not tolerated. Put my foot down. Every time I put my foot down, irritation. Every time an irritation, another little game. See? And games. That's why she loses her memory. I'm fine. See, because here, this is what justice is. If you could give up hostility,
Correct.
don't look through yesterday's eyes and don't be jealous. You became jealous of him.
I never understood what you meant by that seriously.
But yes, you were jealous.
Okay, I will accept.
Women are jealous of men. Period. See?
I honestly,
But it gets worse if you're good. The jealousy, see, first of all, men, but mostly speaking, are hardworking. They do their work and bring home the bacon and fry it in a man. And, there's no say.
look,
Fried in a man. Fried in a man, I meant fried in a pan. All right.
I'm having a little trouble with this because when you say I was jealous of him, I'm thinking to myself, I latched onto his brightness. I loved it. So I'm having trouble understanding what you mean when you say I'm jealous of him.
He's better than you. When he got
He
better.
was better than me.
When he got better, he gave up his hostility.
Yes,
and
he did.
But you didn't give up yours.
That's true.
Oh, that's not good.
Does that mean jealousy?
That means you want to tear him down. Unconsciously tear him down.
But I was split in two because a part
No,
of
you
me-
can't split in two. You're either one side or the other. Not split in two.
Okay.
You have conflict, but that's not split in two.
All right. Well, then there's definitely something more I need to look at, examine over
Yes,
here.
please.
I just want to say one more thing to him, and then I'll pass the mic to you. Where I had trouble with Stuart and where I had some of my frustration is that I was troubled by some of his eating habits. He would get up in the middle of the night to eat. He would eat like when he was out and about. You know, I wanted to make something for him or whatever, but he would go out and eat, and he would say, "No, you don't have to do that," or you know, I mean, or.
But then you resent it because you wanted it.
I wanted to do it,
but
you
there's
see,
the
I think-
resentment again.
Okay, there it
There's
is.
the resentment.
I was frustrated with him.
No, you see, you are on the path
Mm-hmm.
of killing yourself. Because you
Okay.
can't go around being nice here and not nice here. See?
Well, then that's why I like this straightforwardness. This is
Yes.
what I want.
That's why you're working at the foundation because you're a decent person, all screwed up.
All screwed up. Okay.
And I like the good person in you because you see, you're honest. You come over to me now. I've brought it to your attention the way you answer the phones. Hello, this is Foundation of Human Understanding. Thanks for calling us.
I've got really bad conditioning. my conditioning at Costco was really bad. Sorry. It's better now.
I don't take anything serious.
But look, I appreciate everything you told me this week.
You are there because I want you there.
I know.
And I know there's a good person, so if I lose a few sales, it's too bad for me. I want you to be strong.
I will be.
And you be strong, and you have a happy sound to you. Not Foundation of Human Understanding.
It's just the
thank you for
opening.
calling. What do you mean, thank you for calling?
It's just what I learned at Costco, and I didn't realize how much
No,
that
no.
you know.
No, you wanted
Yeah,
to say something,
go-
didn't
go
you?
What you described with your husband was the perfect environment for you to have a false identity. And the driving force, you kept saying, was the bitch nature is rooted in resentment. And you had a very sick thing going on between you, okay? And when he started, that nature, you see, if you could just realize what made a home in you, what got reinforced for 17 years, that's all you have to do is separate from the not you, okay? It's so simple when you see it, okay? And because you were living it, you know every detail of how that nature got fed over and over and over again. Then when he got well, what made a home in you, what literally owned you, was threatened. But after 17 years, it was so powerful, okay, that it was capable of killing your husband through you. But it's not you. This is not you at all. It's just something that made a home in you. You don't have to own it anymore.
See, he gets it, and you need to understand that women transmit it from generation to generation. A baby comes into the world, mother makes a fuss. Bad. She could say, she could be, here's the word happy, and it's not a feeling. She just looks at the baby. What a gift I've got. See, that's it. But not, oh, it's wonderful. And everybody says, isn't she wonderful? Yes, she's wonderful. And everybody feels wonderful about wonderful. This is not good for a baby. This is a bad start. This is codependence on mother. Dads don't do it. Dads will pick a baby up and put it back for a while. But meanwhile, he doesn't understand what's going on in the woman. She feels lifted up. I've got life. Do you know why a lot of women want children? Because the life in the children, she can take the life in the children for her, to soothe her anxiety. It's called codependency. You understand that? You don't have a baby to make you feel good. Who understands that? Yes, you do, don't you? But what do psychiatrists talk about this? What do you think? They don't know what love is. Psychiatry, I'm thousands of years ahead of those bastards. Excuse the expression. Stupid, educated bastards. They got about 150 different names for that same emotion. Hate, love. Love is cruel. It's seductive. It is codependent. It lives and sucks off the life of the children. And one of them rebel, and one of them conform. And if she is satisfied, she's got one, she'll chase the other one who's in jail from running away from her, because he senses the pull. See? So that's why you don't have any men. There's hardly any men left. And sitting on the doorstep of American women is the politician, politico. In other words, it's the media, it's everything. Sit on the doorstep and make the man feel like a monkey. And she's superior over him. That's exactly what happened with Eve in the Garden of Eden. When something spoke to her, it was speaking through her to him. It wasn't her fault. It's his fault for not saying, to cancel that. Knock it off. I've been trying to say knock it off for years, and I get knocked off myself. But you see, but the resistance did not make me a worse person. It made me calmer. And if I hadn't married and picked a difficult one, I would not have understood everything I'm saying. When I got in the car after marrying her for 2 weeks, I married her after 2 weeks. I said to myself, what did I marry that for? In my head. I never, no. No, it was in my head. It was intuitive to marry someone difficult to help, but still has a sweetness in her. There's a sweetness in her to the day she dies, but I will stay with it until she sees it. That, to me, is par for the course. I'm not proud of it. I'm not angry at it. It's the way it should be. How else could I do it? There it is. How else can I do it? Do you understand now that? Would you sit there for 64 years and betraying me and doing all kinds of things behind my back? What is it like to be married to Roy Masters? He's patient. I love her. It's just the same. I love her. But where's the love? I don't feel love. You don't understand. I don't feel love. No, you don't understand. No, you don't. You want the love from me, and it's what makes you angry. You do nice things for me, and you expect me to, you're wonderful. No. It's enough. You just gave it to me. Thank you. What do you want more? When I help you, what do I want more? I want your money, of course. but I don't make you give it. I hope that you do because it's good for you. That sort of thing. Yes.
I'd like some clarity on an issue you
Raise.
The way I understand what you're saying about this has to do with the gas problem and the heart thing.
Oh, so you have a lot of gas too, eh?
Yeah. But what I hear you saying is that's something because of the modern antibiotics.
Yes, it
messed up
destroys the
people's digestion. I get that. And you say, well, it's a very simple fix. You talk about Tums, but I'm wondering.
Well, it could be any other kind.
Yeah, well, that's what I want to say. There's a product called Gas X.
Oh no! Don't go there with me. No.
No, well, I think it's important.
No. I'm not talking about. I'm only making a point.
No, I don't think.
No. Just don't go there. Please sit down. Don't go there.
All right.
I'm not interested in, because it could be different for everybody. They gave me antacids that didn't work. A doctor friend of mine visited me. He's not my doctor. He says, try Tums, it works. It's the same antacid, but it was different antacid. There's a difference. I was just lucky. Would have happened again, even with the antacids, which weren't good enough. So they don't even know what they're doing most of the time. It just by chance. I tell you, things by chance happen to me like you wouldn't believe. I'm not going to bore you with the stories, but I can be so sick or so in trouble or problems that what you least expect happens to save you, just in the nick of time. But up to that nick of time, there's no fear. There's no anguish. If I die, I die. If I live, I live. But I do look for an answer and try those answers from people that doesn't work. I often discover it for myself, discover things for myself. And it's magical. Just one thing. What started me on the road to illness was the fact that I live in a house next to the water, and there's a sewage plant a mile away into the ocean. And so I inherited something in the water because I'd swim every day for an hour or so, you see. And so all of a sudden I smelled something bad. I just swam away. What I got was a parasite, okay, a very dangerous parasite. And it was eating away at my gut, for which reason I have, what's the problem when you eat too much? No, it's diabetes, because it ate that thing. Pancreas, yes, pancreas. It ate the pancreas, ate away at it, because it's in the aisle of something or other in your stomach. It's right in your gut. And it went 3 years, and I was dying. See, and a doctor, he was a cancer doctor. I don't remember his name, Macintosh something. But he was he became a friend. He's a good pianist, and he brought me a whole bunch of books which I'll never read. But on top of that was a Merck manual, just a little manual, just reference. I opened that, so I'd throw the books away. I'm not going to find that. But where it was on top. I flicked over it, and there it was. It was parasite. I go to the doctor. I said, I want you to give me this medicine. It's metronidazole. I remember the words. So he gave it to me. Within 2 days, I was better. See? Now, that is happenstance. Things like that happened to me. It was 4 years. But then I had heart problems because all I could eat was porridge and porridge and porridge and porridge, especially with the pancreas. And so I had diabetes. And so, but I didn't know that. So all of a sudden I lost the vision in one eye. See, that's never never disappeared. That hasn't. This is eye here. I can see you around it, but I can't see your face. See? But then I'll go to the optometrist and I see it on the wall. And I said, maybe I have that. I did. And see, but he never told me. I was able to see it on the wall. What that is. So little things like that. There's so many little things in the very last moment. And then I had heart problems. I had an operation. They took the vein all the way from my leg down to the grain, right down to my ankle, and clipped. I said, "What did you do with the other stuff?" What they did was what they wouldn't do to Clinton. He had a heart attack. They took the mammary gland, which has a artery, and use that to put it to new arteries there, because the other veins are not meant for that. But it worked for a couple of years, and they knew it. That's the way they kill you. They give you the wrong artery. Doesn't belong to the heart. So now I begin to have other problems, and I rush to the hospital, and because things were getting worse, and they put that little tube up my leg into the heart, and he says, "I've got good news and bad news." I said, "What's the good news? The bad news?" He says, "Your bypass failed." No, I didn't know you could have it the other way. I didn't know it. They gave it to me only so I live a little while longer. That's the way you get rid of your people on Medicare. See, I was 70 years old. He said, "Well, what's the good news?" He says, "You grew brand new arteries." Now, I'm 88. What do you think my blood pressure is now? Guess. 105/60. That's an athlete. I can go in my pool and swim 3 miles. So these things I learn. These things I learn. And when people say, "How do you write a book? How to conquer emotions, or how your mind can keep you well and you're not well yourself?" I had to go through a whole system to find out how little doctors know, and how to find out how, if you learn not to be upset, everything is reset, and everything happens as it should without any effort whatsoever. Your sicknesses will disappear by themselves. And what I noticed through all those years, the horrible thousands of operations, not thousands, but lots, that nothing works, did not understand anything. The diagnosis is always wrong, and you die from the diagnosis when they practice to cure it, which isn't the real. Since I understood hypnosis and began to understand that hypnosis was dangerous, it's called temptation, and you have to be delivered from that. And it's not a cure. You get me now? So once I understood how it worked for me, I had much more courage. Look at me. I'm strong. I'm not a weakling. My mind is there. My strength is there. I have a bladder infection, but that bladder infection is because of the prostate operation that I should never have had 50 years ago. It's been following me all the way through. So, but guess what? It's growing back to be normal. It's really weird. I mean, I can't tell you what a bad shape it was in, and how much blood was in my bathroom trying to fix myself. But it got fixed anyway. I'm not afraid to experiment with myself. I take a trip. I'll try what they wouldn't do. Eventually, I found a very good doctor. He helped me, but I survived all that period of time. See, I got resistance, resilience, and always. So when the doctor says to me, I bring this up because it makes a point, because I've spoken about this before. I'm talking about resilience, having an even quality that's neither happy or unhappy, angry or excited by pleasure, see, and excited by approval. See, do not seek love in the world. Do not seek it. It is not there. Don't look for love, because it's the wrong kind of love. And so I just said about the doctor. He said, "I got good news and bad news." What's the bad news? He says, "Well, your operation failed." What's the good news? He's got brand new arteries. I said, "Why is that?" Now, the minute he said that, I'm on my journey to find out why that's the case. And guess what I found out? So one day I'm just looking through things, and there's an article. Pigs. Yes. They put pigs on a pedestal, on a walking machine, treadmill. And they made that pig typically a heart problem. They figured messed with the arteries. And they put it on there, and they let him walk on the treadmill. Guess what? They grew new arteries. Go figure it. Now, take the mental condition of a human being who is sick. And he's sick because he's angry and upset. He's angry because of that. And I have never been angry, but I had a problem. And because the diagnosis was wrong and everything like that. But still, I got my friend, I started TRN. I started it and then sold it, and my son took it over and made it big. So the person I was working with, a very successful adventure, by the way, I sold it for a lot of money and put the money into the bigger TRN to help, and it grew huge. And it's say, be surprised how many. You almost got Al Gore. You almost got it. It wasn't for that network. Although George Bush isn't that great, but you would have had a disaster then. You got a disaster coming right now. By the way, I won't talk to you about that right now. So, where was I? Yes, he was not my friend. So he bought me a treadmill after I had the operation. And he's not my friend. And had he been not my friend, had he not been there, nobody would talk to me about, I never think of treadmills. I'm a strong guy. I run, I fight, I do things like that. I wouldn't think of treadmills, but he bought it for me. So I walked on it because I wasn't strong when I got out of the operation. I started to walk on it. It was that saved me. But it's still spiritual because it was there for me when I needed it. I never would buy one of those things. I'd fight, I'd box, I'd ride, I'd swim. But I would never have thought of a treadmill. See? Magic. I'm grateful. My enemy helped me. You never know where it's going to come from. Now we're back to my... Yes, please.
Should I stand up?
If you like.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about my marriage. I think I may give you a little background.
Can you speak a little louder?
Sure. I used to come to your lectures in Los Angeles.
Yes, I remember. Yes.
You brought me to meditation, and that really helped me a lot because at the time I was homosexual, and I talked to you about it, and it took me about 2 years of meditating, and then I had outgrown that.
Yes, it's good.
And I'd always known that that had happened to me and that I didn't want to be that way. So I think that helped me find you and helped me get into the meditation. And after I had outgrown that part of my life, I started going out on blind dates because I wanted to find a husband and have a family. And I used to come to your seminars and lectures, and there were a couple of guys who were interested in me, but it never worked out. And
What was that again?
I tried to find a good husband. And,
Yes.
at
They're not
lectures,
easy to find.
there were a few men who were interested, but it never really worked out. So one day I went back to Germany to visit my parents, and I met a guy. And for some reason, I mean, I wasn't even crazily in love or something like that, but it felt like that was the right person. And when you talked about getting married to your wife, it kind of it happened that we ended up getting married because it felt like this. I had to do this.
Yes.
And I think it was because I was programmed. My husband reminded me of my old life. You know, it was like a culture thing. He was German, and here in America, I couldn't find an American guy to be with.
Actually.
So this felt kind of right.
But going back to Germany wasn't a great idea.
And it took me half a year to get over it, to get over leaving America and going back to Germany to get married to him. But somehow I did it.
Sprachen die Deutsch?
Yes, unfortunately. So we ended up getting married, and he does have a good heart. But pretty soon we ended up arguing a lot
About what?
about everything. And it always felt like
Who's the motivator?
I mean, my husband isn't here, so I can just speak from my side of things. I think my
Is your
husband,
husband strong or weak?
at the point, he wasn't very strong. So he would not let me do things. He would always.
How do you mean if he's not strong, he won't let you? It sounds like he's not strong.
Yeah, let me give you an example. I would cook, and he'd come and take the spoon and tell me how I could do it better. And
Oh, he's a typical German.
yes,
Nothing.
I mean, he knows a lot of
You're
things.
not Jewish, are you?
No.
Lucky for you.
He does know a lot of things, but I think it's also okay to let the other person be and let them find out for themselves,
Sure,
and not
sure.
always interfere and criticize and put them down.
Yes, I understand.
Be demeaning and spiteful about them not maybe doing things the same way you do them. So it felt like he was always trying to get into me being at peace. You know, he was trying.
No, he wants you to appease him.
He would. I think he was irritating me to not, because at the time I was really into meditating and I felt good, just peaceful.
Did you have children?
Not at the time. I mean, now I do have a son with my husband, but
How old is he?
12,
How's he doing?
not that good.
That's why you come over here, isn't it? Why don't you bring him over?
He doesn't want to come to America because of the weapons. He's afraid of weapons.
Weapons?
Yeah, because in the news, all you hear about is Americans getting shot, being into guns, and so
But you came from Germany. What about the news there?
he doesn't know about that one yet. Thank you. So what I want to say is,
You don't want to give Germans guns again, do you?
I mean, what I want to say is, it took about a year for me to start react. I started reacting to my husband.
It's not good.
Yeah, I know. So it's been really hard for me to kind of come back to holding my ground and seeing the truth about what's going on. I think I've really lost my way.
But you see, so you're coming here to remember.
Yes.
You see, to remember. Oh, sorry. I didn't remember. And I carried away this young lady. But you know what? As difficult as she is, as difficult as he is, see, what you need to do is cool it, not resent him. Because there is in every human being who is not yet pure. And you have the potential of being pure, and he may not. It's possible he will be that way for the rest of his life. And you will have, I would not recommend you divorcing him or anything like that. He is what he is. Let's assume it. And you see that. You see he's taking your life away unconsciously. He does not know he does that.
That's true.
As a real human being, he would see himself. As you see, this lady here saw herself. See that? And that lady, that means she's coming back to paradise, to be a paradisical person. See that? I had to kick her butt, but still, she came and came and came, and sooner or later, I discovered when she was working in my office that she was still weak and something's wrong, so I had to kick her butt. And here she is, and she's done a nice job. And you're doing a nice job too. I suggest that my wife is difficult. She's been difficult since she's small. She knows how to put on a good show. She knows how to be look like a good mother, but she spoiled my whole family. See that? She loved one, and then it was too hard on another, whatever it was. While the mouse is away, the cat's away, the mice. Yeah, you got it. So I suggest you go home and be patient with your husband, and because Eve has power. And so therefore you see that your husband, which you look to for salvation, because Eve looked to Adam and it wasn't there. He gave in to what was in her. And so what's in you needs to come out, needs to disappear. And what does that is a noble man. If I am a noble man, trust me, and forget what everybody else says, because you see how easy it is for an ignoble person to destroy a real person like you, because that's what they unconsciously set up to do. The whole German people did that. They had to destroy all the Jews, and everybody wasn't them, because that's a sickness. It's a sickness of anger. And when you're angry and you're convulsing with anger, and you come from a bad environment, the Russians knew it when Pavlov discovered how to control human beings by watching the way that fathers and mothers deal with their kids, was awful. It was awful. And they saw the sicknesses and the diseases and the mental illnesses, and they got it. And so Pavlov played with mice and not played mice, with dogs. And he played the game with dogs. And he frustrated the dog. And what he did was, in case you didn't know, he decided to see what happens if he can screw the dog like people screw each other. That's my way of saying it. And so they rang a bell. And that became a sign for the dog to have dinner. And then ring a bell, and the dog would have dinner. And they ring a bell, and did it long. Then they ring a bell, and the dinner wasn't there. And he's looking around for it. He's frustrated. So then they ring a bell, and there's dinner. See? And then they ring a bell again. There's no dinner. And then ring a bell again, and there's no dinner again. And the dog is getting frustrated. And then rang the bell again, and the dinner was there. But what you got was a programmed dog. Frustrate. Human beings can be frustrated to a much greater degree, and be separated from their Creator. And so So the system we are born into is the system of that. So in other words, through one man's sin, he did not do what he was suggested, and he listened to the voice of his wife, who could not. So if I was there, if you could be there, you would see this invisible voice speaking to her head and saying, I didn't, I don't know why, how would you say it? Sorry. It spoke to her and said, well, I didn't die. I ate the forbidden fruit. So maybe I'm just making it up, the dialogue. It had to be a dialogue. So why don't you see your God is just testing to see if you are strong enough, man enough to speak up to him, because that's kind of logical. It's so illogically logical. But he looked at it and see she didn't die, so she believed him. She believed her. and they ate the fruit. Then he makes the excuse, and you do the same thing. Men born of woman are subject to all of the Eves that ever lived. But that does not mean to say that you cannot be a good wife and a good mother without a husband. See, so you've been looking for a good man and you couldn't find him. See, and so instead of getting better, instead of him becoming a better man, he becomes more frustrated with you. You are an innocent woman, basically decent, innocent woman. You're looking for a man. What kind of man was your father?
He was really weak.
There you go. And so what happened? Did you feel secure with it? Did you feel secure, or how can I say that? There's two feelings you can have from having a weak father. He doesn't tell you to shut up and sit down and do as you're told in a nice way. See, he doesn't correct you. He doesn't correct the nature in you that came from your mother.
Yeah.
So therefore you have that Eve's nature that needs a strong man. So you must have thought of as a decent man or a strong man, perhaps he can be the kind of man you need to be straightened out as an Eve. Because every woman needs a strong man. But there's two kinds of strong men. One is cruel. It wants something from you. And damned if you give it to him and damned if you don't. And then because that one's scary. But then you have to choose for the weak one because you know there's such a thing as a bad one. So perhaps the weak one you can make strong. Meaning you can love him, hoping that if you love him enough, he'll be... No, all you do is embolden his weakness for you. I thought, you can't cure it. And you're never going to be able to cure it, so give up. Why don't you understand he cannot help himself and stop hating him? He does not know what he's doing. But if you don't get upset, you are holding up something he's never seen before. And he'll come at you in many ways, nice, maybe, they're angry sometimes. But if you could learn that there's something in him that there's something in him that I'm locked for a minute. You unlock in a minute. There's something in him that's good. Is there something in him that's good?
Yes.
Good. So, but you hate him for that weakness. You know, he doesn't know how to love you. He doesn't know what you need.
I resent him for this.
You resent him. You resent him for not knowing. But if he knew it, he'd do it.
The thing is, I remember you once said that don't mistake the identity that is in somebody with the person.
Say it again. I can hear it better.
Like, my husband is my husband, but what comes out of him that I resent is not him, but it's the spirit in him.
The spirit in him.
And I forget that sometimes.
Yes.
And then I react
so
to,
you
to the
cannot help
spirit
it.
as if it were my husband. And then I resent my husband.
Yes.
And that's
Now,
terrible.
can you separate them? Can you see how I spoke to her? I know the spirit's there. I had no trouble bringing her over here. She was willing to come and kick her ass. Excuse the expression. But it's a good way of kicking somebody's butt. See? So, but you're a woman, you're a lady. What you need to do is stop wanting to recreate him. In other words, you think because you have love. Women have a kind of love that's poison. Do you understand that? They have a love that's poison. You want to love him, and hopefully if you love him enough, you think he'll be better for it. Because he's a nice, sweet man, but he's weak. All you're doing is emboldening the weakness. Stop trying to fix him and reacting because it doesn't work. It gets worse. It's your fault. No, it's not a fault. It's not your fault. It's just a fault. Women try to fix men, and a good woman tries to make a weak man or a strong man. She wants to give love to him, hoping that that love is going to cure him. Because there's an ego in there. Ego comes from Eve. You got to give up the Eve part. You're a sweet lady, and you're gracious. I know this. So don't look for him from anything. Just be gracious to him no matter what he says and what he does. And you will cure him of everything that's wrong, or he'll drop dead. See, I've told my wife several times, if you keep doing this to me, let me just go back in the car when I just met her. I said to myself, what do I do this for? What it boils down to is that Roy Masters is different from all other men. At that time, I didn't know. But I'm always following intuition. And I followed the intuition. I knew her 2 weeks. I left 300 miles and picked up the phone. I said, I'm going to come and marry you. I wasn't in love. I'm not a person who gets in love with anything. I have love, but I'm not into love. And love isn't into me. But she doesn't understand that. She comes from a terrible home. And so what God gives me is something very difficult. He's made it very difficult for me. And I don't resent a bit of that. There has to be a purpose. So 64 years later, she's beginning to wake up. I had to wait all that time, but I didn't mind. It was, how else would you, huh?
You're the dad I never had.
Yeah, but you're also the dad, you also projected onto me the dad you did have.
Yeah.
When I say you're not eating enough, Anne, because she's not, she tends to be forgetful, and she's getting the worst of it, and I'm getting the best of it. I would like her to have the best of it too. I can't push it on her.
No.
I cannot make her that way. I can hypnotize her, yes, but that would put her, that's not healthy. I don't want a Stepford wife. I don't want a Stepford wife. I want to, I have been given a difficult wife to work with, but it had to be for me to write all those books on what I'm discovering. That's how I know it. So, do you see what I'm saying? 64 years, and keep going till death do us part. If she drops dead, I've lost what I shouldn't have had. If she comes to be a better person, that's good. It works for me both ways. It will work for you both ways. If he drops dead because you're sweet and perfect and kind, and he can't get upset, he can't upset you because he's feeding on the upset. He feeds, that dark spirit feeds on it. And every time you give up something from yourself, and you will die and he will live because you're too busy giving up instead of taking him down
Yeah,
and eating him.
then I resent myself for failing.
Who's understanding all this? That's very good. Even you? My goodness.
Anybody else over here?
See, can you go home with that? You can. Because you don't want anybody, you don't care if anybody loves you. You love them. When you love them, if he's an ogre and he's mean and he's cruel or he's weak, just be gracious. Here's your dinner. Go about your business. Go about your business, and don't. Otherwise, you're going to spread your anger to your son.
I've done that already.
Yes, but that goes away. That could go away.
What-
And you can talk to your son. Now that you understand it, you may be able to talk to your son and pull him aside. See
He
that?
does
See,
listen
have you seen the difference in your mother, Johnny, whatever his name is?
to-
Yes, mother. Because he's a good kid.
He's a good kid.
And what you do is start, instead of trying to fix him, ask him his advice. Say, I have a difficult problem. Do you think you can help me? What's his name?
Elias.
Huh?
Elias.
Idiot?
Elias. Like Elijah.
Huh? Say again.
Elijah. Elijah.
Elijah. Oh, okay. I thought you said idiot. You're not going to get much.
Sorry.
But a little mirth is good.
I mean,
But you see, your son has intuition. Your husband has lost his. The boy still has it. And he's resenting you because you resent him. And he feels it. And you feel obligated to fix him, but you can't. You can't fix him by being nicer and nicer and nicer to him.
No.
He's gonna see that. He's gonna feel the pull. Right?
and I don't want to do that.
You go home and talk to him. Say, just sit down, have a cup of coffee. Talk.
Yeah.
Say, and this guy, whatever problem you have, ask him to suggest a solution.
Okay.
What do you think? You'll be surprised how magical a little boy is.
Okay.
I was 12, my father dies. She turns to me as if I was the husband and the breadwinner. At $3 a week, I was the breadwinner. Never mind. I gave it all to her except a little bit. So I couldn't buy a Cadbury's bar. Just I had to take the nickels. The thing is, I never resented that. I did what I had to do. And so anytime I noticed it was difficult, I'd stop for a minute and wait for it to go away. Sometimes you get stressed. See, when you're working with diamonds, especially so,
Yeah.
working with precious stones. So how do you feel now?
Better.
Isn't it better for you to listen to me than listen to him? He can't help himself, but he may be in there somewhere. But the thing is, you've seen the Spirit, so it wants to use him to get to you and then get to the kid. This is what you have to now confront. You're in the situation, things can change. And to keep it that way. Things can change.
Okay.
So long as there's a change in you, don't hate him. He can't help being possessed.
Okay.
And it's the possession that you are seeing, that you are hating in him for allowing for him to be manipulated by the Spirit. He doesn't know it's there.
Yeah.
Got it?
Yes.
You'll be okay. Let it go. And so this comes back to my subject matter, doesn't it? Have no feeling towards anybody.
Yeah.
That doesn't not mean to say you don't have feelings. See, I love talking to you. I'm honored that you come all the way from Germany just to see me. Thank you. It was nice. It's good for you. But I'm not whoopee. It just gives me the opportunity. No. Stop now. Second thing. No, I'm just making a point. Simple. So what I'm saying to you, it is my pleasure. Whatever pleasure is, it's not a feeling. I'm glad to see you. I hope I've been helpful.
Yeah.
You go home better person. Okay?
Can I ask you one last thing about my son?
Yes.
When my husband tries to confuse him by
What you do is you get up and see, you stand right between them and say, excuse me, but you're not going to confuse my son or your son. This is what you're doing. And if he gets angry, stay right where you are, calm. If he hits you, which he won't.
No, he won't.
No, he won't. No, as a matter of fact, if he's a bully, he wouldn't either. If you could not be afraid, if you could not have any feelings of fear, because when you're angry, then comes the feelings of doubt and fear with it. But if you can sit, meditate, and find that natural energy within you, natural being there, effortlessly, and looking at people and not judging them. He looks like a good person. Yes, he does. But you don't have a feeling. Oh, he looks like a bad person. No, he does look like that, but I'll wait and see. That's the attitude. Then all of a sudden you find that the person you're looking at is a swine. Well, okay, now you've seen it. Now you don't do business with them. See? Or if he becomes a good person, oh, that's nice. So, used to be pretty bad. Like She's more my friend now than she was before. She might have had a little angry towards me because I never picked on her, did I? You always looked such a nice person, so I treated you as a nice person. But as soon as you started working at the foundation, my foundation started to collapse.
Okay.
But I still wanted you to see it. So I had to be strong. But it was good, wasn't it? There you are. You feel a lot better now, don't you? And your husband will not turn around in the grave, and he'll be happy you see it.
Thank you, Roy.
We all die. But there's a purpose of dying. As we come to the end of our mortality, if you deal with your problems, correct. If you deal with your problems for your whole life, every single minute is the same thing. No feeling. But just do the thing because how else would I do it? The word is, how else would I do it? People will say on the left, the bad guys, what are you doing that for? He's a bad guy. And the person on the right says, how could you be so nice to a good guy, a bad guy? See? So in the middle, what's in you, not in words, but it would be like this. How else would you do it? It's one straight way. And the reason why you get rid of clutter of anger, because the anger is judgment, and judgment is mine, saith the Lord. And also forgiving people after you got angry and you feel guilty, now you forgive them. Then you got the other side. You cannot forgive, you're not God. And so when you forgive a person out of guilt, and you try to be nice to them to make them as if your guilt has turned to love, all you're doing is emboldening your human nature, will embolden the spirit that's intimidated you to play those two roles. You either get angry and you embolden them, or you frighten them into submission, which means you're doing to them what they should be doing. See, you're taking their role. If you be a bully, you become a bully. And if a person gives in to you, he emboldens your bully. All right, now you go around back end. If you're decent, but you're weak, and so therefore you try to stand up to your husband and love him and give him what he wants, sex, whatever he wants, have peace. There's no peace. You're emboldening the spirit. What you need is neither one of any of that. Therefore, now take the two feelings and seize them as energy. Feelings are energy, and energy gets in the way. There's just like a tube. I don't know how to explain it. There's just like something like a tube, a river that flows. And if you have a muddy river, but you need a clean river. So if the muddy river's there, you don't get the benefit. And either one of those two are muddy. Between the two, their feelings, they get in the way of God giving you give the feeling factor, your emotional, let's put it this way, your emotional self is the driving force, but the driving force must not come from the world around you, because it programs you as God could do just the opposite if you stay calm and allow him to move through you, but you won't feel emotions. You only feel emotions with conflict, because the world around you has programmed you with those words and put the worst into you. And you struggle with it. And you look for answers. Drugs, alcohol, friends, fiends. If you could sit still and just be calm. And really, really be calm, meaning you sit quietly and you found the other side. You found there's a border. You live in Berlin, you live in Germany, but remember the wall, remember? So on one side there's communism, and people got murdered trying to get the other side. And the other side is freedom. I said, you take the board, see, so you take the board away and you left it, you bring in all the scum, all the broken people. It seemed to work out pretty good over there somehow, for some reason. A lot of people wanted to get away, and they just come across the border. They wanted to be free. You need to come across the border yourself. You need to cross the border where anger has grip on you, and so that your emotions have been aroused since the day you were born. It had to start somewhere. See? And so therefore you try to fix it all your life. You try to find the truth all your life. And you've done your best. But when you heard me speak, you knew that it was much more simple. It actually does not take any thought. It does not take any energy. It will speak through you and live through you. And emotions, you won't even feel emotions, but those emotions will be energizing you quietly and gently and smooth. And all the things would fall into place. You cannot ever understand the magic of it. Go home that way. Was it worth coming? She came all the way from Germany just for one day. But I'm glad you did. Is there any reason for me to talk to you afterwards? Are you happy now? You've said it all, right? That's all there is to it. So use the meditation to give yourself to the Creator and not to solve problems. He will solve the problems, and the energy that will pass through you will neutralize everything and everybody else. Just appreciate the calm. You don't have to do anything. Just watch. Just be a watcher. Who understands being a watcher? Like watching a bad movie. Good movie, that's a nice movie, it's a bad movie, but you don't go home emotional. A lot of people go home with emotions from movies and thrills from music. No. I like music. I don't have to hear any. I never have to hear music ever again. But when I hear it, it's nice. See? That's all. I know it's nice. I even go to the piano and start playing them. I take 3 minutes a day to play the piano. Before you know it, I'm playing the piano. I'm not going to waste my time on it. I got the rest of my life to finish off with Facebook. Yes, Facebook. The space is in here somewhere. Well, any other questions? Did you know we've been here 2 hours? There it is. See, look, time does not mean anything. Time does not mean anything. It only works on the corporeal aspect of your human mortality. And in other words, you're mortal. And you're mortal, but within the framework of the mortal is the budding immortal. And it needs to be subject to Him who created us and who created the universe and shaped us in His image. And the consequence of the first man was sin. He really sinned. He really was close to the I'm looking for the word, constitution, which is positive. The Constitution is not positive. It says you shall not do this and you shall not do this, otherwise you go to jail. The Constitution is to keep the bad guys away and to give you freedom. But within the framework of culture, there's a conflict, because when you come into the world, you come into the world of hundreds of generations. If you go back to the generations, every generation was doing the same thing, passing it on through one man's sin, death through sin. You were born into culture, even though the culture was hard fought for. And finally, we have a constitution that works, even though now Obama is creating his own constitution, and we're not standing up for those who died to make sure it's there. We've become so complacent, it's hard to find men, in case you didn't know. See? The good ones have been dying for a long time, trying to bring other people, bring the Constitution to the rest of the world. They failed, but the point is they tried. So there are not many good men left. But there's goodness in them, and there's not many good women left, because they're all fancy, they all tempt and glisten and seduce. You know, even a sweet girl like you made the same mistake. You wanted to find a man, and you hoped you could, if your love could cure him. Your love can't cure anybody. And his love can't cure you either, because he only looks to you like his mom, having sex with his mom. Basically, that's what it boils down to. He looks for the woman's support. Well, that is not good. The woman wants the man's support, but God has to be behind him. So you don't want to go to a woman for love because the dark side's behind her. She's inherited it. She wants to get rid of it. But she can't find a man. That's why he had to have a Jesus, because he had the authority. So he was a man with authority. I'm trying to get men to find that authority before they mess around with the women. Because the biggest, it's not just procreation is the most important, is the love of the woman. Put the fruit down. Don't mess with my head, Eve. Shut up. Be quiet. But you can say shut up without being angry. Sit down. You can say that without anger. You'd be surprised how that works. How much better she felt, didn't you, when I pissed you off? See, it was strong, wasn't it? It's what you needed. At first you were confused, but I unconfused the confusion, didn't I?
I like what you did. Thank you.
So when people see me being strong, they say, this Roy Masters is crazy. See, there's two kinds of strong. One is mean, and one cures the mean. The other one cures the mean. So the strength I have is why you need to carry with you. And so let me program you to be programmed. Give up the program. Give up anything. And just find the stillness. And then all of a sudden everything gets clear. And you see, it's easy not to be upset. And the person who tries to kill you in your head can't do it. And it frustrates him. And yes, go ahead.
You just said something about the stillness the other day on one of your programs. You said something about, if I were in a mental institution, I would just sit there and just watch.
You want to see it?
Still.
I like to have that
And
done.
I love that you said that, because you said you'd change everybody.
It's your energy it's your energy. Don't you notice the energy is different in me?
Yes.
It's there. It doesn't matter what. If I was in prison for 20 years, I was in prison one time. No, my son said, we're not saying prison. Oh, I say, no, bad guys, lots of good. There's lots of good in bad guys. There is lots of them. And they just have to see it. I split that sin in two. So listen, I was practicing in the Institute of Hypnosis for 5 years and 6 months. That's where I learned that hypnosis is, I'm a good hypnotist. You wouldn't know I did it to you. I just played with it and just enjoyed it. It was just fun. It was waking hypnosis. I can do it to you and you wouldn't even know it. And that's what's happening in America. You're all mesmerized by your your scumbag, or whatever his name is, Obama. Okay. But you're all afraid of him because you've all become politically correct. So you're not American anymore. You just let everything go. You become appeasers. Even if you're angry, you're still an appeaser. An angry person doesn't go anywhere, goes to jail. Anyway, so the media has destroyed me for 50 years. I'm not bothered by that. Not bothered by it at all. And so in Houston, Texas, a little girl fell down and broke her arm. It was a horrible sight. Everybody's milling around, but this is where I discovered something that I didn't know what it was at the time. But the headline said, "Hypnotist uses love to help a broken heart." I forget what it was. What?
Hypnotist,
Forget it.
excuse me.
Yeah.
Want to hear it?
Yeah.
Hypnotist all practices spells in cells.
No.
That's what it said.
No. Yeah, that was a later one.
Oh, was that a later?
Yes, it wasn't the headline. But it used love to help a little girl with a broken arm. It was headlines. And so I got notice then. I was in the Institute of Hypnosis. And so, having been there for many years, the Medical Society, who now respect me now, accused me of practicing medicine without a license. And this was a setup. And I'd never been in court before. I lost. I had somebody who didn't know what he was doing. Because a psychiatrist hypnotized one of his patients and sent them in to keep me from hypnotizing him. So here's the story. So this is natural. So here I'm in jail. But strange things happened. As I walked into the jail, and it was a big room, and the guys were out of their cells. See that? I walked in, it was like Moses creating the Red Seas. I walked in, and they didn't know what to do. I began teaching the half of them how to overcome their problems. That became headlines. See, hypnotists practice spells in cells. Yes. And so they took me into a tank, and I was helping them. And it was a huge thing in the paper. And so the warden calls me and he says, "Listen, you only got 30 days here. I want you to stop." I said, "No, I'm not." So he put me in solitary confinement. And guess what they did? The inmates made sure I had chicken every day. And then the warden says, "We're going to let you off for 10 days for good behavior." They couldn't wait to get rid of me. So he put me into jail. Yes, my son, they said, the criminals today are more dangerous. They're more dangerous, but also there's intelligence inside there, because they're not being treated right. And if I would go into jail, they wouldn't. There used to be some that want to kill me, but a lot of them would say, "Just a minute, there's a sweetness in it, so many of them, and I know exactly what to do." My books go to the. You have no idea how many books fly out of the foundation over the last several years. Thousands. And it's in all the jails in the country. So see, this. We get, every now and then, people call me, so I've been in jail listening to your radio program. I'm never going to go back. So, yes.
I got one of your books in prison a long time ago, about 30 years ago, and somebody liked it so much they stole it from me.
What was it?
When I was in jail.
What is
Somebody liked it so much they stole it from me while I was in jail.
I didn't understand that. I couldn't hear it.
I said somebody liked it. I set it on my locker, and somebody liked it so much they stole it from me.
I'm not sure.
Roy, when he was in jail, he put it on top of his locker, and someone stole it from him. Because they
Oh,
liked it so much.
I didn't understand that. I couldn't hear
Oh,
it.
that's all right, I'll tell him.
Oh, that's good. Yes, they do.
That was wonderful.
Well, any more questions then? Any insights? Well, we don't have dinner today. I'm sorry, because the people that normally do it are not well, and they're in hospital. So we just have to sit around and go find a restaurant. Would you give? Where is she? Oh, there you are. Would you give her my phone number in case she needs? She have it. You may call me anytime you want. How long are you going to be here? In America? Yeah. 2.5 weeks. You're going to come back next week? If there's a chance. Yeah. Why not? What else are you going to do? And then we can have something to eat and sit down together. I'll sit with you.
This lady for dinner, I'm Ann, and he's.
No, I'm saying sit down here for dinner.
Oh, sit here.
Yes.
For lunch.
Yeah, for lunch, yes.
That'd be nice.
For lunch.
Yeah.
We didn't have it today. But I'm sure these people will love you and befriend you here. Maybe it's something can be arranged. I know that you would have done that anyway. She would have done it anyway. Thank you very much for listening. And maybe I should mention this to you before I finished. On Tuesday, I'm going to sell my school. And I need the money to help the veterans. So I have millions of dollars in the school, which has been there for 15, 20 years. And I brought my kids up there, and it's a beautiful school. And it's a beautiful piece of property. And it's probably worth $55 million. I would like to sell the whole school if a person listening to my program could keep the school together. I can't handle it anymore because I'm suffering from my disability to save the veterans from post-traumatic stress disorder. I spent nearly all my money, about $800,000, on setting an organization up, nonprofit, that was operating independent of me to distribute CDs, at which they did. So in other words, I had a nonprofit organization, but I spent all the money fixing it up and putting the colonel in charge, and he had his own board. I didn't have anything to do with it. I gave him the CDs, and the first batch was 100,000, and then I gave him the reasons to download, and it's been 500,000 or 600,000. The people, the number of veterans with PTSD dropped from 24 to 22. That's where it stays today, because it's still being circled. But it's a small circle. I need millions of dollars. All I want to do is create those little CDs or whatever is possible or they cure themselves with a CD. It's coping strategies. They gave it a name. I had big articles done on this, and the northern states, they made a special day for it. It was so valuable. If you look at, if you go to, what's it called?
Patriot Outreach?
No, not Patriot Outreach. No, that. If you go to LinkedIn and look it up, you'll see how it's been accepted by the Californian Union. Californian Union means, I think it's a union, that is important, very important recommendation for what I'm doing. And you see it also recognized by both houses in the northern states, one of the northern states. The Democrats and the Republicans voted on it to have a special day every year about that. But it didn't go that far. But it went that far as to recognize the fact that it's working. And it is working perfectly. Every soldier that uses it gets better. But we're not getting to them. It takes millions of dollars to do that. So the school has done its thing, but it's a beautiful piece of property. It's absolutely the best piece of property in the best place in town. So if there's a millionaire that wants to buy that and let them use it until he wants to unuse it, the place is absolutely huge and beautiful and refurbished. You couldn't see a better, nice-looking place when you drive up 6th, 7th Street. You see it on the right-hand side. So that's what I want to do. I'm going to go out and see if I can sell that, keep the school together, so that the person who can own the property, and when the school is finished or can be moved somewhere else, that property could be used for commercial purposes and be very valuable. But I want that money while I still live. Because I know I need to be able to speak to those people. I'm not just to give CDs. I want to go out and do something. I just see what happens with if they don't kill and so it killed Trump, because both sides want to kill him. Both sides want to kill him. So you're up the creek without a paddle with this one. So I don't know what's going to happen. But our soldiers need better than this. I don't know how else to do it. I still told Timber Ranch, but we can't do that because it's the headquarters of the foundation. You can't just mess about with this. See, but I need the money for that. I can function, but I don't. I need about $5-6 million, and every one of them would live. So whoever's out there, understand, just look me up. Find out what I've been doing. Look for all the different articles, how happy the media is with this. I mean, the soldiers, the generals, all just loved it. They all saw it working. But I can't deliver anymore. I can't deliver enough. There's too many, there's hundreds of thousands of them, and maybe millions of them, because it goes back many generations. That people carry that post-traumatic stress disorder. If they don't kill themselves, they're just in agony for the rest of their lives. I know how to fix it. And fix it in a week, in a minute. It's just all it takes. It's that easy, because I know how to approach it. That's all. So I just want you not to be disturbed when you hear me say that. I want to keep the school together if I can. And if somebody would buy it, it's a valuable piece of property. Money's not going to be worth much. So I need to spend it and get it done with. And that way you've got a building, it's an investment. That building is very, very, very up to date and beautiful. It has possibilities to make, whatever you want with it. Businesses, classrooms turned into businesses. We got 2 acres at the back. I mean, this is just a beautiful piece of property. And I had a millionaire help me put that together. So, thank you very much. You like that? Thank you. Bye.